Video out real quick by saying that um, I do not paint cars anymore as a job. I used to do it back in the 80s, 90s, early 90s, and pretty much I've retired from doing that. I do buildings and signs and all kinds of stuff like that, but no cars anymore other than my own hobby stuff. So I'm not 100% versed on every new spray technique or method or gun that just came out or anything like that. But I'm going to make this video basically for the DIY guy. If you're a body shop painter, you already know all this stuff, okay? And I appreciate your comments too, because they help some of those new guys that are learning. Because there really isn't anything out there to teach people how to spray and not get orange peel. Now, if you're doing this and you're in a garage at a house, it's going to be a completely different technique than if you're in a booth. Okay. People will say, "Oh, you just do the same technique." Well, I'm going to tell you, it's pretty easy to do in a booth, but doing it in the garage is a totally different situation. Okay, first of all, you need a good clear gun. This is a really good spray gun right here. DeVilbiss Technipro Light. Some guys will say, "Oh, I use a SATA, 5000, SATA 4000." For the money, this gun is honestly, I would say probably just as good as any of the other top level clear guns out there. You got the Iwata Supernova, which is the LS400. You got this, and you have the SATA 5000. They're all preference really from there. They say the 5000 spray is a little bit finer than this. I've never used one, so I can't tell you that it does or doesn't. But I know that if I was in a spray booth and I was spraying at 29 pounds or 2 bar, I could take this spray gun and I could spray that flat panel right there, and it would be perfectly smooth. There'd be no orange peel at all in it. And it's depending on, and it all depends on different things. So there's a lot of different types of clear. Okay, I just want to say, I started when I was 16. I worked in a body shop. I was a custom painter. Was my first job, and I worked there until I was maybe 22, and then I did side work for many years, and I stopped doing all that stuff many years ago. Started doing my own projects at home. So I'm 52 now. I was 16 when I started, so I've been around the block a couple times, and I'm a painter for doing all types of other types of painting, not cars anymore, but a lot of this stuff interrelated. So anyway, here's the, if you're painting in a garage and you're painting at home, I'm going to tell you, one of the problems with that is it's not getting dust in the car. People, years ago it was like, well, if you get any dust in your car, then that's the difference between painting in a booth and in a garage. It's really, especially with these guns, it's about being able to see. You can't see when you turn this gun has such a fine, see, it does, I think the HVLP is 80%, I believe, efficiency transfer. Back in the old days, the other one was less efficiency transfer. The high pressure, high volume paint gun, the old ones, they had less efficiency transfer. But as far as the really fine mist that makes it so you can't see, there was less than even these. Even though this has more efficiency transfer, it has less actual emissions going into the air. It has a really fine mist that comes away from it when you're spraying at full air volume. And when you're painting in your garage, you could put up a million fans in there, unless you have a giant squirrel cage and you hate your neighbors, and you don't give a crap whether you get overspray everybody's car, um, you know, spraying, trying to get it super smooth like this. This isn't that smooth. This is color sanded and buff, smooth panel. I don't do an 8. I don't do a 10 out of 10 paint job anymore on my own stuff. I don't care about it. I used to, but I don't now. I do about an 8 out of 10. That's all I'm looking for. So if you see any flaws in this, like see those waves in there, that's all done with a DA. I didn't use any hand blocking at all. I just don't. I'm too old to do all that stuff. You know, you try and do that with your shoulders and arms, and you're just gonna wear yourself out before you're 70. You won't be able to do anything. So anyway, let's talk about gun settings. So if you're painting at home and you're not worried about it looking 100% super smooth, you're in a place where, you know, you're not worried. Hypothetically, you could be somewhere in a state that doesn't allow this, but let's say you did, and the best air cap is not this one, HV30, but the TE20 is a little bit finer. Okay, but you're also not going to be in a place where if you're painting this at home, you're not going to be in a place where you're going to be as worried about the perfectness of the paint as you are not having as much in the air for overspray. Because if you're painting at home, you know, in your garage, you know, your biggest concern should be your neighbors. Okay, the second biggest concern is going to be whether your paint job is going to look smooth. And I would highly suggest not using a high solids clear if you're doing it at home. A medium solids clear is probably about the best you're going to be able to do if you're doing it at home. If you're using a high solids clear, you're going to need a spray booth, or you're going to need to reduce that clear, and then you kind of, you know, reduce it, over-reduce it, I'm going to say. Some of the clears require a 10 to 15% amount of reducer, and if you're getting a clear that specifies using a 10 to 15%, or it says up to 15%, use the most amount of reducer you can. Don't over reduce it. If you over reduce it, it won't last, and you just defeat the purpose of using that high end clear. So, but I'm going to talk to you guys real quick about a little bit about gun settings and about the principle of what you're trying to do when you spray clear to get it to look as smooth as possible or with no orange peel. If you have a flat surface like this, you're probably not going to get 100% no orange peel, okay, at home. But I sprayed, hypothetically, I could have sprayed this outside, okay, hypothetically, and I would have used this at 14 pounds, 14 to 16 pounds. Air is going to fluctuate a bit as you spray, and based on where your compressor is at in the cycle, 14 to 16 pounds, you could actually spray and get a finish that smooth, which isn't bad. It's pretty smooth. It's not 100% perfect, but it's nice. Okay, 14 to 16 pounds. But to do that, you're going to need, you can't, if you have your fan wide open, okay, with this gun, you're going to have a slight void in the middle of your fan, which, believe it or not, you can actually spray with that void in there if you overlap enough and have it still come out good. But it's better if you turn it in, you know, half to quarter to a half turn. If you're using 4-to-1 clear, not a 2-to-1 clear, okay, 2-to-1 is going to have a different setup, and you're using a, you know, medium solids, I'm going to say a clear that you can buy anywhere, probably almost anywhere, but, you know, at a regular paint store, would be Matrix or 5-star clear. You can buy those almost anywhere. you're going to want this is your volume, this is your fan. So you're going to want your volume turned all the way in, and then all the way until it stops, and then turn it out 2.5 to 3 turns. Okay, and this is for at home. This is not for in a spray booth. In a spray booth, bust it open all the way. Turn up to 29 pounds. The highest amount this gun will allow to be HVLP, and put a TE20 if it's legal. I'm just telling you, that's standard if you're painting in a booth. That's just, you're going to get a better finish. Okay, but if you're painting at home, I'm trying to explain to you guys, this is for the home guy. You can get a decent finish by doing that. The biggest mistake, I've watched several guys doing home paint jobs, and they're like, I'm trying to get it good. They're like this far away. They're about 12 inches from the surface. You need to be between 6 and 8 inches away. Now, it depends on where you have your fan setting. If your fan's really narrow, you're going to need to be further away. So if you want your fan wider, which it feels really weird when you're using this gun and that fan's out all the way, it's almost like you're really so close. So one of the guys says you want to be about a fist away from the car. That's about right, okay? Especially if you have it at 29 pounds and you have the fan wide open. You're going to be pretty darn close to the surface. But it's still going to break up the paint super fine. Like if you use a Harbor Freight Tools spray gun and you're trying to do the same thing, you'll have a giant fat run doing the same distance, going that close. The Harbor Freight Tools are going to be a little further away. Okay, and you're not going to get the quality of finish you'll get with one of these guns. There isn't any comparison. So this is I'm trying to give you guys a heads up that are at home. Okay, the guys who are experts at this, I appreciate your comments. That's cool, and I I see some comments on there on my other video that that I don't know what I'm doing. Whatever. I let me just tell you this. Look, I sprayed out my daughter's Toyota Avalon. Not this. I couldn't paint this and make it look this smooth with a crappy primer gun 2.5, and I got it to look super smooth, as at least to the factory finish or better, which is basically almost no orange peel on the sides. The top and roof had no orange peel. It was just flat as can be. With a 2.5 spray gun. So if I don't know what I'm doing, I wouldn't be able to do that. Okay. I want to see one of you guys do it. Do it in a booth. Show me the spray quality and get it to look I wish I had the car still. My daughter wrecked it a while back, and I would show you. It was a beautiful paint job done with a 2.5 shooting clear. Okay, base coat, clear coat. I think it shut the base and the clear, but I just turned it way down. You can do it with any gun, but you're on a flat surface like this. I'm just telling you, it's a totally different animal. If there's a slight, just little bit of orange peel in there, it looks like it's just came off the tree. It looks super orangey. And on a car, with that little bit of a roundness to it, it's totally forgiving. You're going to have, like if you paint a VW, those things are so easy to paint because it's hard to paint because there's a lot of corners and edges and roundness, and not getting runs is a little tricky. But if you're, but as far as getting it no orange peel, I did one of those with a 2.5 and looked great with single stage urethane. So can it be done? Yeah, but it's a whole lot easier with one of these guns. It's just, this thing, if you use this sucker and you're in a booth, just crank it up. Use it all the way open and overlap 75% or more and go faster. So you can go 50% overlap, which is, if you have a 12-inch fan, that's every 6 inches you're overlapping is a normal way to paint. When you're painting clear, it should be 75%. So if you have a 12-inch fan, every 3 inches you're overlapping. But you can do it 2 inches and even go faster. Okay, and double overlap is what I call it. And what the principle is you're trying to get as many dots per square inch, because what comes out of the spray is little miniature dots, tiny, tiny dots per square inch as you can. So if you can get as many dots, it's not about how heavy you put it on, it's about how fine it's on the surface and how it's even. Now, what happens with a lot of times when guys are spraying, and I watch some guys spray like this, is they're too far away, and when you're too far away, you think, well, the dots will be finer, but what happens is the material dries a little bit before it hits the surface. So when the material's drying a little bit like that, they call it a dry spray. You're probably too far away. It's uncomfortable to be this close, okay, with these new guns. The old days, man, it was 8 to 12, and 12 inches was the normal standard. With these guns, it's between 6 and 8 inches. You're really close to the work. And you know, back in the old days, that would create a puddle as you're spraying. This stuff doesn't, these new guns don't puddle like that. It's not, I mean, you can if you go too slow. But that just gives you kind of the technique and how you can do a spray with no orange peel, basically in your garage, and try and get it as smooth as possible and get something that looks pretty good, you know, if you're trying to do it at home. Again, the reason not that you need a booth is not because of dust. It's not because you can't, you know, the lighting. It's because of the airflow. If you have the air flowing through, if you watch the guys spraying in a booth, you see very little overspray because the real fine spray is gone. It goes right in such a real fine mist that immediately that stuff disappears. And if you're spraying in your garage, you crank that sucker up to 29 pounds. Immediately you're going to be like, okay, I see what the problem is. You'll see what Mike's saying. You'll be like going, oh my God, within you sprayed one panel and there's the whole garage is to the point where you can't see, even if you have some fans. So that's, you know, I highly recommend if you're using, you know, if you can have access to it, get in a booth, turn the pressure up, you know, stay close to the work, you know, and put it on heavy, you know, but, you know, put it on a little bit heavier, you know, when you're in there, and you know, and use the booth. I mean, it's really a lot better for getting a nice finish. But if you're at home and you just want to experiment, maybe you're just learning, and you're willing to spend the money for one of these guns, you know, it's worth it. You know, you use this cheap little Harbor Freight Tools guy, and then you use one of these, and you're going to see a completely big difference. I mean, you can do it with you can get something to look okay with a Harbor Freight Tools gun, but you just can't do you can't do your whole car with the Harbor Freight Tools. You're going to have to do sections. Maybe I could paint one of those bugs with the Harbor Freight Tools gun and make it look all right. And you know, I think I've even done it before just for fun, and it looked okay. I mean, didn't look bad. But doing one of these, no way. It's just not gonna. It'll be so heavy, orange peel. You'll be there for days trying to color sand it out, and even at that, it's still, even when you color sand it and you've gone it down to where it's completely as flat and smooth as ever, there's still that very, very slight bit of orange peel, and you'll still see it. And it's weird. You'll have it completely sanded to where, you know, with block sanded, and it looks like completely gone, and there's still orange peel there because it's so flat. You can see anything. Okay, all right, so that's it for the DIY guy, learning how to spray without getting orange peel at home. Talk to you later.